As dust settles on another day, the world still awaits a resolute end to the war that has gripped the global economy. The man who bears responsibility for its escalation appears unperturbed. His attention turns instead towards the processions planned for his birthday. The stage is set, the stands await a crowd of close confidants, courtiers, sycophants, and some genuine fans of the sport, gathered to witness a modern-day gladiatorial spectacle, one of the most stacked cards in the history of the UFC. Two fighters will enter the octagon, this time not merely for victory, not merely for the prize money, but the entertainment and appreciation of the man seated at the center of it all. The venue is not the Roman Colosseum, it is the White House. At another time, such an exhibition might be understood as little more than a spectacle of machismo, skill, or crude entertainment, but at a moment of military escalation and foreign intervention, it acquires a darker resonance. It becomes an unsettling echo of regimes that turn sport into theater, theater into propaganda, and public entertainment into a performance of national unity and strength. The term often used today is sports washing. But before drawing any grand historical conclusions, the first question is simpler. Is this the first time an American president has organized sporting exhibitions at the White House? Plainly, no. In the 1920s, President Warren G. Harding hosted tennis matches. Decades later, President George W. Bush turned the South Lawn into a T-ball field. A couple years later, President Barack Obama invited friends, aides, and guests for pickup basketball games. Nor is Trump the first president to show an interest in the field of martial arts or physical toughness. Theodore Roosevelt boxed as a young man, continued sparring while president, and even had boxing matches in the White House. There is a famous incident in which he was struck so hard during one of these bouts that he later revealed that the injury left him partially blind in the left eye. Before Roosevelt, there was Abraham Lincoln, a wrestler known to have defeated Jack Armstrong, a local champion. The problem is not that the president enjoys sport. The problem is not that the president enjoys combat. What is revealing about Trump's spectacle is the circumstance in which it has been staged. A professional cage fighting event has been brought onto the lawns of the White House while the country remains entangled in a serious military conflict. At a time when the president seems to have effaced a lot of his popularity, at a time when honest observers are questioning the logic of the war, at a time when the liberal order is facing its most pertinent challenge from its staunchest defender. At such a moment, one is often reminded of past empires and regimes that, when unable to resolve the contradictions surrounding them, turn towards spectacle and theater as a means of distraction, projection, and symbolic control. But spectacle is not an adequate substitute for good governance, nor is it an alternative to a coherent foreign policy. It cannot resolve what policy has failed to settle. At such moments, grandeur is not necessarily evidence of confidence. Theater is not necessarily evidence of unity. It may instead be an attempt to manufacture confidence visually, to perform the strength, order, and control it wished it had. The trick is not exclusive to authoritarian regimes or past empires. Democracies too stage ceremonies. Democracies too turn towards spectacle. But history finds some of its most troubling examples when strongman leaders use sport or pageantry to launder or whitewash its image both internally and internationally. In Hitler's Germany, the 1936 Berlin Olympics were used to soften the image of the Nazi regime before the world. For 2 weeks, persecution was pushed out of the view. The aesthetics of order and athletic excellence took center stage. In Argentina, the 1978 World Cup was staged under a dictatorship that wanted the world to see celebration, not disappearance, unity, not repression. The tournament became a spectacle of novelty at the very moment the regime was trying to manage international scrutiny over human rights abuses. The point is not that America has become them. The point is that the resemblance is uncomfortable. The danger lies in the instinct, the urge to transform politics into pageantry, crisis into performance, and violence into entertainment. And while spectacle is easy to condemn from a distance, it does not exist without an audience. The lights, the cage, the pageantry, the ruler seated at the center of it all, These things require attention, they require an appetite. They require a public willing to consume politics as performance and violence as diversion. The cameras do not turn themselves towards the arena. We turn them. And perhaps that is what makes the scene most revealing. Not that the spectacle was staged, not that the ruler enjoys it, but that the spectacle still works. Why is that? Are you not entertained?